Yes, guys. Yes, you already know. Welcome back to another live. Welcome back to another preview. Atletico versus Chelsea, literally the game that we've been earmarking and looking forward to since it got announced back in December. And it's among us, nearly 24 hours away from Atletico versus Chelsea. I've got Kendall with me as well. Lawrence will be joining us very soon. But before we start, I want to say, as always, if you guys haven't done so already, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Check out Kendall, Rowan, and the Football Terrace. Both of those links are in the title, so guys, check them out as well. And Kendall, first off, before we go into Atletico versus Chelsea, before we go into football as well, how's the week been? Since the last time we spoke as well, because that was a Newcastle-Chelsea game. And I do want to talk about that too, because I didn't think you were that serious when you said Bruce Ball was that bad, but I've seen this. I've seen the Manchester United.
I don't think anyone believes you when I tell you, but until you watch it, boy, you have no idea. It's so bad.
Yeah, you guys have been definitely struggling the last few weeks. I just wanted to get your basic thoughts on the last 2 weeks for Newcastle. Well, if you still have no confidence going into the remainder of the season.
No, I'm concerned now. I mean, I was concerned probably around November time because I could just see the dip. I could just see it happening. I could see us getting dragged in then. And I think we were like 15th at that point. So I knew from that point we were going to get dragged into relegation battle if this was the way we continued to play. We have now got 3 major injuries. So Wilson's out for 8 weeks, Manquillo's out for 8 weeks, and Shah is out till the end of the season, who are 3 of our starting 11, which is horrendous for us. Like, we have no real goal threat unless we have Wilson. Obviously lost against Chelsea, lost against Man United yesterday. So yeah, we're only 3 points above relegation now. And we've got Wolves next. So
I swear down it was 10 a week ago.
Yeah, well, no, it was, yeah. So when we played Chelsea, I think it was 10. Fulham played their game in hand and they won it. So they got 3 points. And then they got another 3, like, against Sheffield United at the weekend. So, yeah, we're only 3. I don't know how it worked, but we are only 3 points above relegation now.
Damn, that's a sticky one still. But we know exactly what the table's like regardless. A lot of people are saying, yes, and I don't blame you as well, because if you're watching Bruce Ball every single week, like, I don't blame you for looking at other teams as well. And Atletico, can't lie, decent side as well. It's half the reason why I'm looking forward to the tie as well. We're talking about the low block to end all low blocks. And we got the press conference that's also happening joint with this live stream as well. People are saying Thiago Silva is already announced out. All I want to say to all you guys surprised in the comments section is, were you guys really surprised? Because I was telling you this for days. If he was going to play this game, Andreas Christensen would have started the last match. Andreas Christensen was put on the bench for that game, and we had no ball playing centre-back, and we struggled. So it's clearly obvious that Silva still wasn't going to be ready for this match as well. But if we want to talk about injury problems, I mean, we can't even complain too much, because Atletico, you guys have been struggling the last few weeks. Obviously, you've had the outbreak of the virus, the word I still don't know if I can say without my CPM going down. But you guys have definitely been struggling over the last few weeks, and it's been impacting your form as well. I don't want to take the Levante game too much into account, because looking back at the highlights, looking back at the way the game went, it was just complete judge. Like, I think Atletico had 20, 30 shots on goal compared to Levante's 2.
Yeah. They literally had 2 shots on target and scored both. So, yeah, so it was, I mean, the second half, we were just on top of them every single time. Their keeper, Cardenas, was unbelievable. And he's only their backup keeper. He's only played 2 league games this season. And he was just pulling off saves left, right, and centre. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. It was just one of them games that you just come away and you're like, how on earth did you actually lose that? It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Feels like Newcastle away last season, the more you say that. You remember that one, the 94th minute winner?
Yeah, Isaac Hayden, I remember it very well.
Yeah, literally one of the worst away trips we've had. But I'll still take it back over the last year and a half of just sitting in here. But how would you describe Atletico Madrid's football throughout the season and also the last few weeks as well? Because I feel like it's 2 different teams. Because you lot have been on fire before the last few weeks, and then you've had this massive outbreak, which I do think is a big impact on your form as well, which is why we're going into this game optimistic. Well, I say we're going into this game optimistic as Chelsea fans. Most of us are scared shitless for this game as well. But it's still the sort of feeling that we're facing you guys at the right time, which I kind of feel, but I also don't want to sit there and underestimate Atletico Madrid, because clearly based off that last match as well. It's not like you guys have failed going forward, and
Yeah.
it's not like you guys are struggling to make chances either. But how's
Yeah,
your?
I'm seeing Suarez is out in the comments. I don't actually know if that's true or not, because I haven't checked. But obviously the comments are going crazy saying that Suarez is out. If that is the case, Felix is obviously back from coronavirus. Dembele is back from coronavirus. So there is attacking options there. Correa, he could also play kind of as in an attacking role up front. So I'm not too worried if Suarez is out, but that really does reduce our chances a lot. Unfortunately,
I don't know where this is coming from. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter saying Suarez is out.
Well, everyone's saying Suarez. I really don't know, to be honest. I haven't looked in the last couple of days.
I don't think he's out.
I mean, he played the last game, so whether or not, I don't really know. I'll have a look. But
I wouldn't follow that. Everything I'm saying is that he's still there.
Yeah. So everyone's back from coronavirus now, apart from Herrera, as we were just speaking prior to this. Herrera's got COVID. Don't know when he's going to be back. In terms of other kind of people missing, Jimenez pulled up against Levante. I thought it was just going to be a precaution, but unfortunately it's not. He's not travelling with the squad to Bucharest. But the good thing about that is Savic is now back, who is probably my favourite defender, like centre-back for Atletico. And when we don't have him in the squad, we do really, we miss the organisation because he is so experienced.
Who's that, Jimenez?
Jimenez is out, but I mean Savic is back, so that's good because he was sat in the stands the last game, but he's back. He's in the squad. Whether or not he starts straight away or not is a different story. Obviously, Trippier is still banned, which probably means that we're going to stick to 3 at the back, which I hate because of the injuries and the suspensions we've got. I hate 3 at the back, but it's the way we've been playing at the moment. It's just going to have to be the way, unfortunately.
Wouldn't that be better for you guys? Because I feel like 3 at the back makes you more defensively solid, and also since we've had Tuchel in the squad, the main teams that we struggled with are the teams that have matched us and gone for 3 at the back as well. So I feel like low-key it might be better for you guys too.
Yeah, I don't mind 3 at the back if we've got everybody fit. But the problem is when we don't have everybody fit, and Lodi is playing as a wing back, which I hate him in that position. And then you've got Kondogbia, who I'm really mixed about. And when he first came and he had a couple of game run when he first signed, he looked all right, but I wouldn't have him in the squad if we didn't need him in, if that makes sense. Sorry, just to address the comments. Yes, I am a Newcastle fan primarily. I have been since the day I was born, but I started following Atletico when I was 9 because I went to see a game and loved Fernando Torres. So that's why I'm Atletico as well. So I was like, I thought you supported Newcastle.
Happy we can have Torres pop here. That's all cool.
I thought you supported Newcastle. Yes, I do support Newcastle, but Atletico obviously since I was 9, so that's a long time as well. Because I'm 26 now, so. But yeah, injury-wise, obviously there was a coronavirus problem at the club. Dembele was out, Suarez was out, Felix was out, Correa was out. Carrasco's now injured, which to me is a massive, massive miss because he's come in and he's just absolutely smashed it this season. We look completely different creatively without him. Obviously, luckily, Llorente, again, a great player. He is stepping up now. But as I say, pretty much everybody's back main-wise, apart from Carrasco, obviously, and Jimenez is now out. But yeah, I think it's going to be I don't know. I think everyone's kind of expecting Atletico to just take it, but I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than we actually think.
Yeah, and that's low-key why I'm looking forward to this so much, because Atletico, you lot aren't completely in the mud or anything, but there's a couple of question marks about you guys. Chelsea as well, we're just full of question marks going into this game. You don't know which Chelsea team's going to show up. If we were going into this game and we were better in terms of the final third, I'd be very confident. But the one thing I've been saying for months with Chelsea going into this sort of game was I need to see Chelsea be clinical. I need to see Chelsea take their chances and take them exactly when they come, because That's the one thing. We ain't been good enough for years. I think even the last time we played Atletico back in 2018, we still weren't clinical then. And now we're coming here, the same problems. Like, I don't know if you watched the Southampton-Chelsea match, but that's literally the last game going into the Atletico game, and it did not fill me with any sort of confidence because they had one ball through our midfield. We struggled. And we conceded as a result of that. Final thirds, just misplaced passes all over the place or missed chances all over the place, and we only scored through a penalty. So it looks like this match is going to be a massive struggle for both of us, but I'm not sure which one's going to make it out, and that's the part that excites me the most. Yeah. I do want to say as well, though, because you were talking about having most of your players back. That's one thing, but would you say that they're back at their peak? Because it's one thing being back, but like coming back when you're coming off the virus in itself. Like we've seen through Kai Havertz. Like Kai Havertz came back and he was just getting done for the entire next month, and we had to drop him down to the bench. Although João Felix comes back, he's still looking a little bit patchy as well. So with that in mind, do you think he's going to start, or would it even be wise for him to start?
I think he'll start because I think, actually, saying that I don't know, because I don't really know where kind of Simeone and the team's heads up, because obviously the league is so at play this year. Like, we are top of the league still. Obviously the gap has shortened hugely with us losing at the weekend and Real Madrid winning, and I'm not sure about Barcelona's result. I think they possibly won as well. So it's kind of, I don't know whether they're going to attack both. You know, that fair enough. You have your squad depth to do that, or whether Champions League is just kind of going to be a little sidestep to the league, because obviously they haven't won the league in several years now, and it's just always been, Real, always been Barcelona. So I really don't know how they're going to attack this. Obviously the Suarez thing I am going to look at, but I'm not seeing any major things where it's saying he's out. So hopefully he's not. Because what might happen is he might just start Suarez and Correa, and then Felix might come on later, because Suarez is obviously it is like Simeone's main striker now, which in the summer when they signed him, I was like, that is a very strange signing, because at the time, obviously this was like, I know we knew Costa had left, so that was, was leaving, so that was fair enough. But at the time it was park the bus football, Diego Simeone classic, has always played this way. And I was like, that's a very odd move, considering like we don't play attacking football. But they needed another striker. Costa wasn't leaving till January, but they terminated his contract early, and then obviously Dembele came in. So it was just a bit of a strange one, and then he's obviously lit it up, really. He's top scorer in the league at this current time, with 16 goals. So yeah, very strange. I'm really hoping he isn't out. I can't see anything, but now it's making us panic. He's out. I'm like, no, please don't say that. But I can't see anything where he is out.
I don't think he's out, because on the graphic yesterday of who travelled with the squad, he was on there.
Yeah, he was there. So
Carrasco and Jimenez weren't. Actually, no, I don't know if Carrasco was. Yeah, I didn't think Carrasco was.
No, Carrasco's I think he's got a thigh injury, so he's out for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, that's the squad list as well. I think you've had to bring in a couple youth players as well because of all the injuries.
So Ricard had his first start against Levante the other day. And Cameo, I've never seen him play before. So the good thing, Lamar's back as well, which I rate Lamar for his holding player midfield. That's really good. So yeah, pretty much the most of the squad is there, just not Carrasco and Jimenez. Obviously Trippier, but he's banned. So
I didn't realise as well that Vishalko's out, which I'm actually quite glad about, because I've noticed with Atletico in a lot of games, I don't know about the Levante game, but you seem to start with a back three and then go into a back four in the second half.
Yeah.
Bring Vishalko on, and you haven't got that option now. Unless you bring on one of the youth players, if they're right.
Yeah, I literally was just saying to Lewis, obviously, about three at the back. Unless everybody's fit, I don't like three at the back, because, as I said, I don't really like, if you're kind of playing two wing backs, if you will, I don't like Lodi as a wing back. I don't believe that is where he is best at. But when we haven't got Carrasco, sort of, if wing wise, there's not really a lot of option, because obviously Llorente plays like kind of right wing, which attack and midfield sort of position. So yeah, Vishalko had a really long-term injury, came back and then got another one. So I'm really not sure when we're probably going to see him again. I don't know what the situation is with him there.
Okay, there's a lot to take on this squad as well. This is why I don't want to talk too much. I don't want to talk too much in an optimistic mood or a worried mood. This is really something where I just want go on. I just something where I really just want to see how the end result comes off. Scott, what were you saying?
I was just going to say that both teams are quite similar in terms of their attacking on the face of it. I know we've been poor in terms of chance conversion, but if you just look at the face of it on paper, both teams defensively look so suspect, and yet going forward look so brilliant.
Yeah, I'd say
full strength in terms
that,
of going forward. Like Carrasco, like you've got Suarez, Dembele, who absolutely dismantled Man City last season. Felix, like Lamar as well, but then defensively, they've got the three centre backs, which I don't. I know you said you like Savage, but I haven't seen much this season. But I wouldn't especially be confident if I was in your position, not having Jimenez. And especially having like no defensive options off the bench if you need to change it up.
Yeah, we have no solid defensive options. That's why that's what concerns me the most. Because obviously Trippier was having such a good start to the season, then did his idiotic, ridiculous move. But yeah, that concerns me more because obviously defensively, Atletico are known to be that like defensive solid team where they're so structured at the back, and obviously just with injuries, with suspensions, they haven't had that as much because there's always been someone missing or someone's out or long-term injuries. So that is what concerns me. But obviously Hermoso's come in, and realistically I wasn't massively keen on him at first, but he's really smashing now. He scored a couple of goals as well. I don't know, I think it is going to be a lot tighter than a lot of people think. I think everyone's just like, okay, Atleti, they're doing so well in the league this year, they're just going to attack it. But I just really don't think it's going to be like that. I think it is going to be a lot tighter than we think.
Yeah, I've said 1-1.
That's what I'm thinking as well. I think if we even see more than one goal in this game, we're going to be lucky in this one. Big up Mr. Aaron as well in the comment section, because I actually don't think this is a fake account. He says, do you think this is such a tactical game it could end up in a 0-0 ball fest? I do think it could be one of those, because I think with you lot, you're going to be very worried with future results coming into this match as well. And I also think, and this isn't just a case for Atletico, for a lot of teams where they're going to have to really assess their season and think, are we going to have to prioritize the league? Are we going to have to prioritize cup competitions?
That is what's concerning me the most.
Competitions? And that's probably already going to be the state with you guys, the amount of injuries that you had. And I wouldn't blame you if that's the case anyway, because Champions League, like, it's not to say that you're not favourites for it in terms of the quality of the squad you have. But in the position that you're in right now, also in terms of form, I think it's one win in your last 4 games or something. I think Real Madrid are 3 points behind you, but you have a game in hand as well. Yeah, it's looking tight enough for you guys. So I wouldn't blame you if you were not necessarily throwing this game away, but if you had a bigger focus on future games coming up.
Yeah, that's what's concerning me, because obviously, as I said to you earlier, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of, like, are they going to attack the Champions League as well as the league with the concern of the injuries that we have already had. I know some of them are obviously COVID related, so that's fair enough. But I just don't know in terms of what the mindset is there. Are you going to focus on the league? Because I really don't think, yes, you should be able to focus on both, but I don't think you can have an equal output in both if you want to win both. That is what concerns me the most. If you're going to attack it at, at the highest possible level that you can, you should be able to, but I don't think it's feasible in terms of how competitive La Liga is this year, obviously Champions League. So that's where I'm concerned the most. And as I say, I really don't think it's going to be like a goal fest at all. I think, it's definitely going to be a lot tighter than we've said, which I've mentioned a lot of times. So yeah.
The thing I will say though, and on the other hand of that, looking at the Champions League, is I know we said this last year as well in terms of because it was a weird season, but you look at this season in terms of the Champions League, some of the big teams are really not in the best of form.
Yeah.
You've got PSG dropping points left, right, and centre. Liverpool just in a complete mess. I know they beat Leipzig, but that was 2 defensive errors. They didn't actually create those chances; they were gifted them. You look at Bayern Munich lost at the weekend, and they're not brilliantly defensively at the minute. Like, this could be a year where a less fancy team, a dark horse, if you will, could go on and win it. And so it does make you think, is that something that either Tuchel or Simeone could look at and go, we might be able to at least get into like the semi-finals or the finals and push on towards the latter stages.
Yeah, I think it would make more sense for Tuchel to be the one to directly like try and win this game, if that makes sense. Obviously, you're going to try and win it, but I think it would make more sense for him because obviously you're not going to win the league. Do you know what I mean? The league's kind of, I know we're not really at the end, but you know, Man City. Is anyone discounting them this year? So I feel like if anyone's going to really go into the game with the mindset of wanting to win this game, I think it will be Tuchel. But I think it'll be a decent game, but very tactical. And it's not going to be like a wild, you know, like flair, technical game. Like it's not going to be like that. It's just going to be very, very stuck in their way system, like playing a certain way. So I am excited, but yeah, not sure what it's going to be like, to be honest.
Yeah, this is the thing as well, because I feel, well, that's more fact in general. We need this win more than you guys do, because even though we're playing in Romania, you guys are still technically the home team in this match. So the goals are going to mean more for us in terms of away goals. So you lot really could just go there and sit deep for 90 minutes, and I wouldn't even blame you for doing that too much. But same way in the case of looking out for for future games as well, I think we both play on the Sunday. Because someone was also asking if we were going to focus more on this game or the Manchester United game. We both can realistically focus on both because we have enough time coming out of it.
Yeah. I don't actually know who they play next.
I was just about to look at that.
I didn't check, but it's an 8:00 kickoff.
We play Villarreal. We play Villarreal next in the league. Who are 6th.
Yeah,
so that is massively important to us to win that game.
Yeah, especially with Real Madrid breathing down your necks right now. And Real Madrid they got Real Sociedad as well. So that's looking like a pretty good weekend of football. I can't lie.
Yeah, because Real Sociedad, they've picked up form again because they lost it and they dropped a little bit, and then they're 5th. But they lost a couple of games on the bounce, but then they're back now and they're smashing it. I mean, I know they got beaten Europa, but in the league wise, they play a lot better. I love the way they play football because it's enjoyable football. You know how everyone loves Leeds and they're like, oh, Leeds play nice football. Like Sociedad are like that in the sense they play really good link-up football, like really, really nice. Like a type of football that you don't see all the time because obviously some teams are so tactical, like Atletico, for example. So I like the way they play football, but yeah, that's a couple of like really obviously, you know, title winning games, if that makes sense, because they're in and around the top of the table. So yeah.
All right, cool. I want to talk to you about some individuals as well, only because a couple of your danger men. I also want to talk about a couple of players that we've also been potentially interested in. First off, Luis Suarez, because everyone was talking about Luis Suarez in his final few seasons at Barca, saying that he was slowly looking like he was becoming more past it. Signed for Atletico Madrid, which was really surprising seeing the circumstance of it, and he's completely revitalized himself. So just talk to me about Luis Suarez's impact on your club this season.
Yeah, as I say, I was at the beginning of the season, obviously when we signed him, I was like, that's a very strange signing in terms of, you know, a Simeone signing, because it's not a player that at the time I thought they probably were going to look at. So when we signed him, I was like, oh, you know, that's a really decent signing. But I was just a bit confused at the way that we were going to set up, because Atleti have been so defensive for a long time now. That's Simeone's football. He is literally the manager of part of the bus football. So I was surprised, and then obviously the first couple of games he took a little bit of a while to settle into the system, because at that time as well, Felix wasn't like as good player as he is now. He had the talent, but he just wasn't in form. At the time, he had a couple of 6-week plus injuries last season, and it just knocked him off completely. And it came to a point at the beginning of the season, I was like, if he doesn't step up this season, it's going to be a case of cutting your losses with him, because at the time he just didn't have the desire and the passion to want to play as well as we know that he can. So when Suarez came in and they had a couple of games together, and Felix was like a different person, I was like, he's a different player, and he needed that. Clearly Costa wasn't cutting it with Felix as a partnership, so he needed that Suarez, he needed, El Pistolero, he needed that push forward, direct, pacey, attacking football, which obviously Suarez has come in and provided and the impact that he's had. So our defensive output is as equal as our attacking output this season, which for like 5 years now, it hasn't been. It's always been defensive first. That is the nature of the football that, you know, Diego Simeone likes to play. So now the attacking output and the defensive output is equal. And they actually had one of the highest attacking outputs in Europe, which to look at that and think Atletico Madrid attacking football, really? That's really strange. But Suarez come and changed the whole system. And then on top of Suarez, you've got players like Carrasco who have absolutely stepped up. And in my opinion, apart from Suarez, he's probably been the best Atletico player this season. Correa has really stepped up and he's linked up with Suarez and Felix really, really well. And Marcos Llorente is smashing it. I love him. He's one of my favourite players at the club. I really, really like him. Obviously, being ex-Real, it's like, really, is that how's that gonna go? But he's really smashed it as well. And I think just the introduction of Suarez has just completely changed the mentality and the DNA of, you know, the sort of system that Simeone likes to play. So really good signing. I'm over the moon with that signing. Really, really good.
Yeah, it's mad this turnaround as well. This long into his career because he's 33 years old as well, and he's completely revitalized himself at this point. Yeah, that's
really mad.
To be fair, I don't necessarily think he has. Like, he was still doing this at Barcelona, maybe not to the same extent, but I think he was still doing it at Barcelona. It was just how poor they were as a team last year. And then Koeman's come in and just been like, you're not needed. And then for some reason thought that Griezmann could be the one that could replace him when he showed last season he couldn't. And just completely messed up like Barcelona, like how their structure was, pissed Messi off even more.
No, to be honest, Griezmann's another talking point in himself because how much did you end up getting for Griezmann too? And that's probably benefited you guys in the long run.
It was more than they signed Felix for, I think. Or it was an extreme amount.
But for some reason, our net spend is still in the minus.
To be honest, because I remember last season when we were talking about potential defensive options and we were interested in Jimenez as well. It wasn't that. It was Jan Oblak. We were interested in Oblak. And one of the main reasons why we thought we could get him was because of how big Atletico's financial troubles were looking at the point.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You lot are still paying off the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium. Yeah. I think you're still in heavy debt. And you also owe your owner a big sum of cash. Is it something like that?
And the net spend is still like, I don't think it's massive, but I think it's like minus 12 million, which when you're a club in debt, I mean, the weird thing is a lot of La Liga clubs are in debt. I'm not entirely sure what the like politics around La Liga football clubs are and the deal with the financial side of La Liga clubs, but a lot of them are in debt. And I don't think it's like, you know, it's like not a burning debt, like sort of the Barcelona situation where they are like in severe trouble. But yeah, there is sums of money owed for different things. Obviously, the Wanda is still relatively new, and that is still being, you know, the financial side of that still isn't, resolved. So yeah, there is a couple of sticking points there with that. And to be honest, I didn't really understand the whole the Wanda situation at first because, you know, the Calderon, it was such a historical stadium, and it was just kind of I thought at the time it was just going to be like an extension for that, but obviously then they just decided to build the whole Wanda Metropolitano, and that's fair enough. But yeah, La Liga clubs and their financial situations, like you could probably do a whole video on that, because what goes on around them clubs, I honestly have no idea.
I ain't got a fucking clue. I can't.
Real Madrid and Barcelona are a mess. Like,
yeah.
at the minute. Honestly,
I know they're in financial problems as well, but I don't know the depth behind all three clubs.
It's just bad. That's all I know. I don't know. As I said, I don't know how much, like in terms of the difference, but I know Barcelona are a mess. Real Madrid are to the point. I think I told you this, Lewis. Real Madrid are at the point where they can't afford to pay Sergio Ramos because they have to pay Gareth Bale. They've asked Sergio Ramos to take a pay cut on his next contract just to pay Gareth Bale's wages. That's how bad they are financially.
That's fucking ridiculous. But in the case of Atletico Madrid, like, you lot aren't really showing it because I thought you lot were going to have a worse season this season, or you'd have to sell off a few of your assets. But in that case, though, do you lot still think you're at that point where you might have to? Because I know we've had quiet interest in Jan Oblak. We've had quiet interest in Jimenez as well. I'm not too confident to say that I think it could happen with either of them. But Jan Oblak's spoken a lot about wanting to play in the Premier League in the future, right?
Yeah, I think if how can I explain it? I think if the La Liga win is cemented this year and they win the Liga, I think the fortunes of the club and the direction the club is heading in will completely change, because obviously they have just been like underdogs and behind every single year, you know, third, fourth. It's not been a case of, obviously, since 2013 where they've looked like they're going to win the league. And obviously everything that comes with winning the league, money-wise, you know. And I think players will want, if they're looking at playing a more attacking style of football and, you know, better football, and they do better in the Champions League and Copa del Rey, because they kind of went out of that really, really, really early to like a tier 3 team. If they look at, if Simeone's style of football is going to play, because I genuinely thought that this was probably going to be his last season if they didn't win the league, and that he was probably going to move elsewhere, because he has said, he likes the challenge. You can only do so much, like, at a club if you're not going to change the style of play, if you're not going to get the players that you want in, kind of thing. But this season he has, and obviously they look like they're going to win the league, and the gap is closed, and that's fair enough. But if everyone's back fit, then we know that you can get on form again. So I do think it'll change. Oblak is obviously, in my opinion, probably the best goalkeeper in the world, or at least in European football. So, you know, whether or not he moves, there's going to be a massive transfer fee there. It's going to be way, way more than Alisson, going to be way, way more than Kepa. You know, it's going to be a big, big fee there to take him off Atleti's hands. And plus, as you say, the financial troubles, they're going to want the top amount for him. A lot of clubs have been interested in Felix as well, but, you know, we bought him for, I think it was 120 million pounds. So a club to pay that now in this current situation that we're all in with COVID and like with all the financial troubles that's brought, you're not going to get that for him at this current time. So I really don't know what they're going to do. As I say, I think it's going to be massively dependent on whether they win the league or not, what happens to the club and what happens to Simeone or Oblak, people like that.
Yeah, because Oblak's on a 120 million release clause, same as Jimenez, and I'll be real, I'd activate that for Oblak.
Yeah,
Jimenez, not really too sure. Like, that's nothing against his quality as a defender. It's just I don't think he's 120 million pounds worthy. But same way, talk to us about Jimenez's influence as well, because he's been excellent for you guys this season too.
Yeah, he really, really has. And he's been at the club for a long time. And he's been at the club since Manquillo, who plays in Newcastle, was at the club, which was years ago now. Jesus. So, so he's been there since that point. And he has said, like, several times, there was a video a couple of weeks ago, because he reached, I can't remember how many games he's played for us, but I think possibly maybe he's 200 plus. It came to a certain amount of games, and they had a whole little documentary short about him. And he said, like, the club is in his blood, and it would take a lot for him to move away from the club, because he truly believes and loves the club so much. Like, it literally is his heart. So it would take a lot for him to move away. But obviously everybody wants Premier League football. Like, pretty much, any player most of the time wants Premier League football if they have already played in Spain, because that's just, the level that you want to get to. So if he leaves, and, as we saw with the Partey deal, if the release clause is activated, there's not really much you can do about him leaving and stuff. But yeah, he would be an unreal addition to the Premier League. I think it would be really, really good.
All right, cool. Also, Laurens, big up yourself. Thanks for jumping on as well. Any big news from the press conference to relay other than Silva being out?
Well, Pulisic and Havertz are both traveling, so that's good. Other than that, nothing huge. He said, obviously, he spoke to Hudson-Odoi, but not individually, but rather in front of the whole group, to not make it like a bigger thing than it actually is. And, basically saying, he was back to all smiles after that and worked very hard in training on yesterday, and then basically said he even worked even harder in today's training. So, sounded very good, sounded very positive. But of course, we don't know, was that just media, to calm everything down again? Because the media outrage and the fan outrage was maybe a bit more than Tuchel expected. And he even said, kind of hinting at maybe I shouldn't have taken him off with everything considered outside. Like, it's not a big deal in the team, but with all of the outside issues that this has caused, maybe he shouldn't have done it, kind of thing. But he said, Callum has learned from it, needs to do better in that sense. But he also said, I learned from it as well, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it all sounds very positive. Pulisic and Kai, obviously, traveling is good. And I guess that Thiago is out. Was somewhat expected after Christensen didn't start against Southampton, I guess. But still, obviously, disappointing, I guess. But, by the way, thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on as well. Yeah, the Silva news, everyone was saying that the first few minutes in, but I was saying not even shocked by it, because if Silva was fit, I'm now turning back onto Tuchel. I'm saying, okay, cool. Why didn't Christensen start? Because we probably wouldn't have conceded if that was the case. With that in mind, though, what lineup are you guys expecting to see? Well, I'll say expecting. What do you guys think we're going to see? Because it's an easier said than done one. I'm sure all three of us are going to come up with 3 separate lineups. But Laurence, I'm going to start with you. What do you think we're going to line up with for the Atletico game tomorrow?
It's a tough one. I would still like to see us play a back 4. It would be interesting to see whether Atletico stick to the 3 now that Jimenez is out. Obviously, maybe Kendall knows more about this, but now that Jimenez is out, I don't know whether they will. But I would just expect us to stick with it. I just can't see us again to start for the first time in a back 4 under Tuchel against Atletico Madrid. Like, as much as Tuchel is Mr. Unpredictable, even though, someone came at us on Twitter both, and I just, flew over it because he was waffling for the most part, to be honest. But basically saying like, it's been all the same thing. It's been boring every game, and same formation every time. And I thought it hasn't. It's just been a back 3 every time. As we've played various systems. Other than that, anyways, doesn't really matter. So I think we will stick to that. I think Rudiger, Christensen, Aspi, Mendy in goal. Midfield, that's what I don't know. I don't know. Will he switch to a 3-5-2? Will he stick to a 3-4-2-1? Go for a 3-4-1-2? And does Kante play? I don't know if Kante plays. I just don't know, because Tuchel after the Southampton game was praising Kante extremely highly and was even praising Zuma extremely highly, which especially the Zuma one surprised me a lot. But yeah, he was saying, didn't even ignore the mistake basically, and said, yeah, I saw a lot of great things from Zuma. I was very impressed. I was very happy with his performance. Did everything perfectly, pretty much. That's what he said. I'm like, all right, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know if I would personally probably. I don't know. I just don't know. It really depends on how Atletico come at us, because if they just sit, there's not many opportunities for Kante to steal the ball back. So is there a point in starting Kante? Do you know what I mean? But then also the physicality. Sorry?
No, because that's the thing I think as well, because it takes us back to when we were dominating possession under Maurizio Sarri, and everyone's like, oh, N'Golo Kante's interceptions, his tackles have gone down. And it's like, yeah, we're dominating play more. There's less tackles that need to be made. So that's also a really good point when it comes into playing N'Golo Kante, because it's like, do you take away his biggest his biggest strength in the team based off the fact that the opposition aren't going to play to that strength anyway?
Yeah, I mean, that is the issue. But then there's also the issue that Atletico on an extremely physical side. And do I want Jorginho in a team when we're playing a really physical side? But then again, he played against Burnley, and you don't get much more physical than bloody Burnley, and he was brilliant.
See the Tottenham midfield when we played them.
Or Tottenham, but they still had a Ndombele. I don't really put that on the same level as bloody Atletico Madrid, do you know what I mean? In terms of aggressiveness, physicality, and whatever, especially with the run that Spurs are in. But I mean, Burnley, you could probably put on a similar level in terms of aggressiveness and physicality, not in terms of ability, but so I don't know. I think the fact that he started Kante as much as he was pleased with it, he either goes with all 3 of them or leaves Kante out. I can't decide, but I think it's one of those 2 options. Either all 3 start, Kovacic, Jorginho, and Kante, or just Kovacic and Jorginho.
Okay, but regardless, Jovic starts, because I think regardless, we can't drop either of them 2 from the lineup. And if anything, the Southampton game was just extra proof of that. Yeah.
I mean, there is a small chance he then leaves Kovacic out of this one, I guess. I don't know. But I don't see it. I would love to see Hudson-Odoi start a right wing back in this away game, because I said this before. The away game is where we need to make sure we get goals. I can't be having a 0-0 going back to Stamford Bridge, because having a 0-0 going back to the Bridge against Atletico, even though they're not in great form now, that's just an us out already result kind of thing. Like, obviously, if we get battered, right? But a 0-0, I can't have it. We need to score away. We need to.
I get that, but I don't really want to be so defensively naive against Atletico, because, yeah, they are going to sit deep, and I do think we're going to have the majority of possession. maybe the majority of chances. That's a very big maybe, but a maybe. But Atletico Madrid's last game, for example, just shows that they aren't going to just take minimal chance in games. They're going to absolutely pepper that goal, especially if we score first. So I think if we do that, Callum Hudson-Odoi could be viewed as a very big weak point because we played him at right wing back, but we haven't really tested him defensively at right back. He's had good defensive moments, but he hasn't been tested in the case of a full 90 minutes. And I don't feel like
I will also say, because Carrasco is injured and he's Atletico's strong offensive wing back, I don't know who they're going to play instead, whether they're going to put Saul out there, which I always think is a bit weird, whether Lemars is back, but Lemars, I mean, he plays well in some games, and obviously I don't watch every game, right? But he's scored probably less than 5 goals and been there for 18 months. Like, it's like the guy just don't do nothing in terms of actual output. He's like Kovacic almost, just playing much higher up the pitch. So I think because they don't have their really good and really attacking left wing back, we need to try to exploit that and not be unnecessarily defensive on that side. Well, I don't know who they'll play on the other side, whether it will be Vrsaljko or whether it will be Marcos Llorente. Don't know.
Yeah, it'll be Llorente because Vrsaljko's out.
Oh, is he? Okay, well, there you go. So that side would probably be the more attacking side for Atletico. So we need to make sure we're solid there, but then also exploit their side on the left, on their left, our right, in my opinion. And so I don't know. And mind you, we also have 5 subs. So if we score early, or if we go into the second half and we're a goal up, we can still just make that change at half time, push Callum higher up the pitch or whatever, and then bring Reece on. It's not like with 5 subs, we're a bit more flexible in terms of that. And on the left, I don't know. I would rather see Chilwell. Especially against Llorente. Like, Llorente is a fast player, faster than people give him credit for. I think he would just make fun of Alonso. I won't lie. But then obviously there is the goal threat of Alonso, and I really want us to score. So it's such guesswork, and it's just where I don't even know, because they both have their pros and both have their cons.
I feel like if Alonso plays, James has to play. I think at this point. Or maybe you're right where we could switch it halfway through, but I think you can't have 2 attacking-minded wing-backs, because if we get hit in the counter, especially with Marcos Alonso's pace on the turn, we're dusted.
Yeah, no, that is fair. Yeah, no, exactly. No, then I'll go Chilwell because I want Callum on the other side. And by the way, if you can hear weird sounds in the background, I'm sorry, that's just my washing machine.
Well, if you hear weird sounds in the background of mine, they're drilling underneath my flat as well, so we're both pissed.
There you go.
Yeah, so who's your thoughts for up front then? Because, like, we're all probably going to disagree on this one anyway, so just let me know your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, it's a question of who's fit. Are Kai and or Pulisic fit to start? If so, that might sway my opinions. I would just say if they're not, right? If they're not, I think go Giroud up top. As much as I don't really like Giroud that much, and I think he's most of the time kind of pointless. He also scored 4 goals last time we played in Spain. Okay, we're not actually playing in Spain, but we're just playing a Spanish team away. So maybe that goes for him. Werner will start, whether I want it or not, he will start. Like, we just have to deal with that. So it's probably just going to be the same front three, just Giroud instead of Tammy, innit? But I would, like, you can't drop Mount. Like, you can't do like that.
Can't be asked.
Like, you can't drop Mount.
David is Mount agenda, man. It's ridiculous.
Bro, I respect the agenda, man, but you don't stop. You really don't stop.
At least it's consistent.
Yeah, I respect the consistency at the very least.
What I would actually like, though, is to have Kai up front as kind of a false 9, Werner on his left, and then either Mount or Pulisic on his right. That's what I'd actually like to see. But I don't think we will see that because I don't think they're both fit to start. But then again, we have 5 subs, so that maybe allows us, to bring both of them on during the game.
All right, Scott, what are your thoughts, though? You got any similarities or any differences?
Are we talking about what we want to see or what we think we'll see? Because they're 2 very different things at this point.
We'll go for one.
What I want to see, cool. So, obviously, Mendy in goal. Back 3 as is, because we've got no other option, and I don't want Zuma starting after the weekend. Midfield 2, I think, Jovicic, just because of how good they've been recently. And I don't think that... I'm looking at the Atletico Madrid players and who they've got. They're not the most physical of size in terms of stature. Like, you've got Saul's quite small, I think. Koke is not the biggest, and then the only real sort of strength they've got is Kondogbia. But I think if it's just one player,
dogs, though. They're like dogs.
True,
They're not. they're not man mountains, but they're,
True, but I think if we're comparing games like you did with Burnley as like the physical side, I think the closest side we can look at to sort of their midfield would be Wolves, because they're quite similar in terms of they're quite dogged and we cope with them fairly well in the midfield. So I'd say you could play it and I think it would work. It will be Alonso at left wing back. It just will, but I want it to be I think I want it to be Callum, actually. I was thinking about Callum as one of the front three, but I think I'd probably prefer Callum left wing back, because then at least it gives Marcus Llorente something to think about. Right wing back, I want Reece James. Front three might be the same as Lawrence, I'm tempted to say Kai as a false nine, because I really like the sound of that.
Would you be confident in that, though? Because Kai Havertz's first start in how long as well? And you're throwing him against one of the best teams in the world in a position that we haven't played him that regularly in any way.
True, but my counterpoint to that would be is the only other option we've really got. Well, we've either got to play Werner in the middle. I think on the UEFA website it says Tammy's doubtful. I don't know whether that's true, but I don't want Tammy starting after the weekend. Like Zuma, he's just offering nothing at the minute. Giroud would be an option, but if we're just going to cross it into the box, they've got three big defenders. So it's going to be 1 versus 3. It's pointless. And then the only thing you've really got Giroud for is the link-up play, which, again, if he's versus 3 defenders, it's just a waste of time. He's just going to get swarmed. So therefore, you're thinking either Werner in the middle or you're thinking Havertz as like a false nine. Are the only real two options. So you could maybe go Werner in the middle and you go probably Pulisic on the left and Mount on the right. Or you go Hudson-Odoi on the left and we have Alonso. But yeah, the only two real options I see in terms of strikers that could work, would be Havertz as a false nine or Werner through the middle. Just because it means that the Atletico back three will have a bit more to think about than just hoofing it up to a big man, and they can control that easily.
All right, cool. Kendall, as a final question, because I do know you need to head off soon as well, what would be your predicted Atletico lineup, and also what Chelsea lineup would worry you the most?
So obviously the favoured Atletico system is 3-1-4-2. They have played that several times in the league, and they did the last obviously Champions League game against Salzburg. They played that formation. Now that Savic is back, I think they probably will stick with the back three and just kind of replace Jimenez for Savic, I think, if he's fit enough to start, because obviously he was in the stands like last game. So I can't really see, unless he is just going to be fit straight back into the squad, it's going to probably have to be a back three. So it'll be Hermoso, Savic, and probably Felipe in the middle, because, as I say, Jimenez is out, and defensive wise, that's probably the back three that they will go for, and they did earlier in the season when Jimenez wasn't playing before. Then it'll probably be Kondogbia, I think, as the one in front of the defence, because Koke plays there, but now Carrasco's out, they're going to need Koke in midfield. So and then the four probably be Koke, Saul, Llorente, and Lemar. And then it'll probably be Felix and Suarez. But if that doesn't happen, Correa's got to come in somewhere. So that four, I think, will probably be interchangeable if Correa comes in and kind of plays as like a winger, if you will. I don't know what's going to happen there with that four, but I think it'll obviously be Felix and Suarez if they're going to attack it. Otherwise, it'll be Suarez and Correa, and Felix will come on kind of later on in the game if they want an impact. So yeah, and obviously Oblak in goal, that's just a given. Chelsea team wise, now Thiago Silva's out, that is best for us, because he's probably what would have been the biggest threat to our attacking options. So now he's out, that's great. The midfield concerns me with Chelsea the most because of the way like Atleti play in the midfield. It leaves us open a little bit sometimes, but that's why they have that sort of 3-1 system where they've got that one who can, play as a DM. So the midfield is where I'm concerned at the most, to see what's going to happen in terms of that because, as we say, Carrasco is out. So maybe they will sit back a little bit more and they might not attack as much as we probably think they will. So, yeah, I think it'll be a very interesting game. I'm really, really, looking forward to seeing how both teams set up against each other, because I think it is just going to be so, as I say, it's not going to be like a set on fire game. I think it's just going to be like very tactical from both sides. Both sides know where they're attacking. Both sides know where the weaknesses are going to be. And that'll be the way they play. But I am looking forward to it. I like Champions League football and I love it when it's back. So, yeah, it's good.
Can I ask you something in terms of Atletico? Because obviously we've seen Suarez play for Barcelona for years now. And he was always a kind of workhorse dog that then also scores the absolute screamers left, right, center, right? But now, whenever I see pictures of him and when I see highlights, as much as he still scores pretty much the same amount, he doesn't look quite as fit. Does he still run as much? Or has
he runs, but he doesn't have to, because when obviously Carrasco's fit, Correa is the runner. He's the runner between the kind of the midfield, if you will, depending on how you look at the formation. And Felix as well. Felix has got pace. He's, the young, like the fresh legs on the pitch. So Suarez doesn't really need to. He's a lot more in the box and he's a lot more direct than obviously we've seen him in the past. So fitness-wise, he does sometimes come off the field. He doesn't sometimes play the 90 minutes because, when we've got against teams like Valencia, Villarreal, who really do come at us and they cause a lot of problems despite, not being at the levels of, say, Real Madrid or something, then they've got that option of Felix. And that's why sometimes Suarez and Correa seem to be like a partnership that's likened to a lot from Simeone. So, yeah, I do agree with you. I don't think he is, pacey or as fit as he probably has been at Barcelona. But he's doing the job and he's got other people around him, as I say, who do the running. So he doesn't really tend to need to now because he is at the club now. He is not like the number 9. That's what he is. That is his job. He's, the one to score the goals. So, yeah, it's, I don't think obviously he needs to be at this point, but I do agree with you in terms of, fitness. He doesn't look as fresh as he probably used to.
But
all right. Well, guys, I think we are going to end it here as well. If you guys haven't checked out Kendall Rowan's channel, again, the link is in the title. The link to Football Terrace is in the title as well as the link to Laurenz's channel, where we're going to be going live at 4 p.m. as well. So, guys, check that out too. Scott, his Twitter link is down in the description below, so check his out as well. Thank you to all the panel for jumping on. Big up all you guys who have been locked in as well. We will see you guys tomorrow. We're probably going to be doing another Atletico preview, probably closer to when the lineups are announced. So check that out as well. But until then, take care, like and subscribe. We'll see you in an hour. And up the Chelsea.